Hi, everyone. Today I'm discussing plant-based diets and urological health. There are many different types of plant-based diets. There's pescatarians who consume milk, eggs, and fish, but do not consume any meat or chicken. Then there's vegetarian diets. These diets include milk and eggs, but no fish, meat, or chicken. Finally, there's vegan diets where you do not eat any animal products. This includes milk, eggs, fish, meat, or chicken. Plant-based diets are rapidly increasing in Mexico. A recent survey actually said that 20% of Mexican consumers have reduced or completely eliminated meat and animal products. Why are plant-based diets so important for health? Well, here are the top 4 causes of death in Mexico in 2020. Heart problems, number 1, COVID-19, where the risk of severe disease increases with obesity and other health issues. Number 3 is diabetes, and number 4 is cancer. And all of these can be benefited with a plant-based diet. So how do we really want to eat? We want to focus on the power plate, where we're consuming a variety of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes. So these are the 4 food groups. We do not need meat or dairy in order to live, and actually these patterns are associated with important benefits for cardiac disease, diabetes, weight control, and cancer, all of the main causes of death in Mexico. Plant-based diets are supported by the major nutritional organizations. For example, this is the position statement for the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. They discuss that vegetarian diets, including vegan diets, which are carefully planned, are healthy, nutritionally adequate, and can provide benefits for the prevention and treatment of chronic disease. And that these diets are appropriate at all life stages, including pregnancy, lactation, infancy, childhood, adolescence, adults, and for athletes. Interestingly, they also bring up the importance of plant-based diets as a more sustainable alternative for the environment that uses less natural resources and causes less environmental harm. And finally, they state that vegetarians and vegans have a lower risk of multiple health issues, including cardiac problems, diabetes, high blood pressure, certain types of cancer, and obesity. This is another position statement. This is from the Eat Lancet Commission, which is really all about planetary health. And they discuss how animal-based foods, especially red meat, have a very tremendous negative impact for the environment. All of us are very concerned today about climate change, and animal-based food have a tremendous impact in terms of carbon emissions, land and water use, and loss of biodiversity. So to save the planet, actually every one of us needs to eat more plant-based. So here's a quiz. According to the World Health Organization, which of these things is considered group 1 carcinogen? Definitely causes cancer in humans. So the answer is actually all of the above. Processed meat is in the same category as asbestos and tobacco. So here is an infographic from the World Health Organization, and basically processed meats, which includes things like sausage, bacon, hot dogs. These are considered group 1, causes cancer in humans. Also, other things such as red meat, pork, so steak, lamb, these are group 2A, which is probably causes cancer. Why does meat cause cancer? Part of it is the high temperature cooking process that is needed to reduce the risk of transmitting infection, but that causes the release of heterocyclic amines. Part of it is also hormonal effects. And finally, just the nutrient composition of the meat itself. animal-based foods have less anti-cancer components such as fiber and antioxidants compared to plant-based foods. Let's talk about prostate cancer. This is the most common cause of cancer death for men in Mexico, so it's a major public health issue in Mexico. And dietary factors are very important. We know that tomatoes, cruciferous vegetables, and soy are all protective in terms of prostate cancer risk. Fish is probably the one animal-based food product that actually has shown some benefit for the prostate, although may have problems for other health issues and for environmental sustainability. Coffee and green tea have also shown some benefit for prostate cancer, whereas milk and meat are harmful for prostate cancer. Interestingly, if you look at this at an ecologic level or countrywide levels, this is the map for prostate cancer incidence, higher in the darker regions on the map. And what you can see is that the graph on the top is per capita milk consumption, and the graph on the bottom is meat supply per person. So these maps are not exactly the same, but there's definitely some patterns. And when you look at ecological studies, this bears out where studies where countries where the most meat and dairy are consumed tend to be the countries where there is the greatest risk of prostate cancer and some other chronic health conditions. But this does not tell us anything at the individual level. So for that, we look to epidemiologic studies. Here, this is a review article summarizing epidemiologic studies about plant-based diets, suggesting a lower risk of prostate cancer, whereas they showed that consumption of dairy was associated with an increased risk of prostate cancer. This is some new data that we are getting ready to submit, so please don't share this. This is hot off the press, but we have been looking at new data in 47,000 US health professionals from a large cohort study, and basically showed that eating more plant-based foods at a young age, under age 65, was associated with a lower risk of advanced prostate cancer. Now, even for men who already have a diagnosis of prostate cancer, lifestyle is very important, including maintaining a healthy weight, exercise, and eating a lot of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Here's one study I found particularly interesting. This is a randomized trial, small trial, but men on active surveillance for prostate cancer. They were randomized to a vegan diet with exercise and stress reduction compared to a control group. And the lifestyle group, who did the vegan diet, exercise, and stress reduction, none of those patients progressed to treatment. The PSA level actually went down a little bit, as did their cholesterol, not surprisingly, because animal-based foods are the only foods that contain cholesterol. So this is a very similar result to this trial has been shown in men who have PSA recurrence after treatment. There is also a very small trial suggesting benefits from a vegan diet in patients with prostate cancer recurrence. Now, there's also some data for bladder cancer. This is a study of British vegetarians showing that compared to people who consume meat, the British vegetarians/vegans had a significant, literally more than 50% reduction in the risk of bladder cancer. Now, they updated this analysis later, and the results were similar, but when they adjusted for body weight, the magnitude was reduced of this association. That is to say that it suggests that the reason why the vegetarians had a lower risk of bladder cancer may have been mediated by having a lower body weight. Because they lost weight, they also had a lower risk of bladder cancer. Speaking of body weight, obesity is very important for overall health, but also for a lot of the common conditions that we treat in urology. Testosterone levels go down in obese patients. It is associated with infertility, erectile dysfunction, also female urology issues, incontinence, infections. Now, for weight loss, a vegan diet can be very effective. In fact, this is a recent randomized trial comparing Mediterranean diet versus a vegan diet. And they found that the vegan diet resulted in significantly more weight loss and lower cholesterol compared to the Mediterranean diet. Erectile dysfunction. This is a really important topic. It affects millions of men around the world. And it's known as the canary in a coal mine because it can precede a cardiovascular event by even 5 years. So it's very important to adjust cardiovascular risk factors for patients who have erectile dysfunction. This is really what the AUA recommendations emphasize, that because erectile dysfunction is a marker for cardiovascular disease, that we should recommend lifestyle modification, including dietary changes and physical activity. So what are the contributors to erectile dysfunction? All of the same issues that cause cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, obesity, inflammation. Avoiding smoking, also very important. But we can really reduce these cardiovascular risk factors through a plant-based diet. Here is a very nice review article on erectile dysfunction. Basically, they found that eating higher amounts of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and fish were helpful for erectile function, whereas you want to lower the amount of processed meat, red meat, and refined grains. So why are plant-based diets good for erectile function? Well, they're better for blood flow, nerve function, they contain antioxidants, so there's less inflammation, and because of weight loss. But don't worry, you can still get plenty of protein through a plant-based diet. There are all kinds of beans, wonderful tasting beans, legumes, vegetables, and seeds also contain protein. Kidney stones. This is another big topic. So kidney stones, we want to reduce the amount of salt in the diet and also reduce the amount of animal protein. However, it is very important to get enough calcium for people with kidney stones. There was a large randomized trial, very important, showing that people who had a low calcium diet actually had a higher risk of kidney stones. So we do want enough calcium. But just remember, calcium is not the same as dairy. In fact, we just did a study that's coming out soon showing that many of the plant-based milks, such as soy milk, almond milk, macadamia milk, and rice milk, have just as much calcium as dairy milk, but they have a lower environmental impact. The only one you want to watch out for is almond milk because it has a much higher amount of oxalate, so it's not good for stone formers. There are many other sources of calcium as well, including all sorts of plant-based foods. So you can definitely find your favorite plant-based sources of calcium without the need for dairy. In conclusion, plant-based diets offer many benefits for health and for the environment. There's a lower risk of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and cancer, and many sources of protein and calcium from plants. I'd like to recommend a few resources for more information. Some documentaries that are really helpful are The Game Changers, Forks Over Knives, Cowspiracy, and Seaspiracy are discussing the environmental impact of food. There are also many Spanish language books that have good information about plant-based diets. Perhaps the most famous is How Not to Die, which is a New York Times bestseller and has all kinds of very helpful information and an accompanying cookbook. There are also many online resources, and I included the QR code so you can just hold up your phone if you're interested in following along. But the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine is a group of thousands of physicians around the world who support plant-based nutrition, and there are courses for physicians and also a 21-day kickstart. Vegan Outreach has 10 Weeks to Vegan program. You can also click the QR code here for the Mexico edition. Mexican Recipes. This is a great website with those. And finally, the Happy Cow app has many great restaurants in your area. Thank you so much for the invitation.